Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Dragon Ball Nation. Now today, I'm going to be doing a little bit of something different. I was in a Skype call with Black Fist and Quaman's Land, and Black Fist had showed us this kind of Dragon Ball Z character roster kind of list. Like, you get to rank them judging by who you pick during each fight. So if, between Goku and Vegeta, you would pick which one you think is stronger, and the best way to do this is what Black Fist says, to think about it as a Battle of Gods timeline. So everyone up from Battle of Gods, who would win in that fight, if that makes sense. You scale their powers to that level. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'll link Quaman's Land in the description as well as Black Fist, but I know Quaman plans on uploading one of these as well, and it might be uploaded by the time I get this uploaded. So this video is going to be a little bit longer. Obviously, you can probably see from the runtime, so let's get right into it and see how well my list stacks up, but this is going to be a while, I imagine. So, Goku or Vegeta? Well, I would obviously say Goku if it was Battle of Gods, so. Tao Pai Pai or Mercenary Tao versus Beerus? It's obvious Beerus. Pilaf or Deborah? Clearly Deborah there. Korin or Popo? Mr. Popo, hands down. Kibito or Supreme Kai? Supreme Kai. Babidi or Captain Ginyu. Now, we don't know a lot about Babidi, and I know Babidi's going to have a lot of complications, but I'm going to give it to Ginyu, unless they're referring to the frog Ginyu. But just for a safe bet, let's assume they mean Ginyu's, you know, quote-unquote, actual form, even though it's not, but, you know, the one we saw him in on Namek. So I'm going to give it to Ginyu, even though we did see Babidi blow up some people's heads. Videl or Yajirobe, that one's very difficult, and it's going to sound weird, guys, but if we're talking about Battle of Gods, it's very difficult, because Yajirobe is getting very old. But, I mean, is Videl really training? We don't know. But I'm just going to say I like both, because it's a hard one. Oolong or Piccolo, King Piccolo, definitely King Piccolo. Dende or Launch, now that's a very difficult one as well, but since Dende can fly, I'm going to give it to Dende, a slight edge. Android 19 or Chaozu. I don't think Chaozu ever could have caught up to 19. 17 or 16. 16. Cell or Majin Buu. It's hard to say what Majin Buu they're talking about, but I'm assuming Fat Buu. But we could pick their strongest forms if it's that case. But if it's Battle of Gods, it's gonna be Fat Buu. Gohan or Frieza. Gohan, easy. Krillin or Tien. This is a. I'm going to give it to Tien, even though there is stuff out there that says Krillin is stronger. It doesn't make sense for Krillin to be stronger, in my opinion. So I'm going to give it to Tien Shinhan. Bulma or Master Roshi? It's not even hard. Roshi, easy. Elder Kai or Tenkaichi Budokai announcer? Definitely the Elder Kai. Even though we saw he was not very powerful from what we could see, he obviously has to have some strength. General Blue or Goku? Easy Goku. Blue or Vegeta? Vegeta. Beerus or Whis? It's obviously going to be Whis, guys. Deborah or Raditz? Come on. Some of these are just laughable. Pilaf or Raditz, like I said, laughable here. Nappa or Popo? Obviously Nappa. Supreme Kai or Kami? Well, it's completely obvious it's Kami. Alright, not Kami. What am I talking about? Supreme Kai. Kibito Kai or Kami? Obviously Kibito. Captain Ginyu versus King Kai. Ginyu. Babidi versus King Kai. King Kai. Fortune Teller Baba versus Videl. We don't know what the heck Baba is capable of, but I'm going to give it to Videl just because we don't know what Baba can really do. King Piccolo or Goten. It's going to be Goten. Mr. Satan or Dende. I'm going to give it to Mr. Satan on this one. Android 19 or Chi-Chi. Android 19. I know they have the I like both no opinion option, but I don't think I'm going to need to use it that often. Chaozu or Chi-Chi? Chaozu. 16 or Jiro? Easily 16. 17 or Jiro? Well, I mean, 17 did, you know, destroy Jiro, so it's kind of already answered. Fat Buu or, I guess, Majin Buu versus 18. It's going to be, I almost clicked 18. It's going to be Majin Buu. See, if you mess up one of these clicks, it could corrupt your whole data. Cell versus 18, it's going to be Cell. Gohan versus Trunks, it's going to be Gohan. Frieza versus Trunks. If we're talking about Battle of Gods Trunks, I'm going to give the edge to Trunks there. Tien Shinhan or Piccolo? Gotta give it to Piccolo on this one. Yamcha or Roshi? Yamcha, easy. I can tell it's going to be a while, guys. I mean, you guys obviously know how long it is already, so you can see the full time. But I can tell we're 40 battles in, and we're only about 30% done. Goku or the Elder Kai? Easy Goku. Elder Kai or Vegeta? Vegeta. Elder Kai or General Blue? I'm just going to give it to Elder Kai for the benefit of the doubt that he would be stronger. General Blue or the Budokai Tenkaichi announcer? It's going to be General Blue. Deborah versus Whis. It'd be interesting to see what would happen if Deborah spit on Whis, but I feel like it wouldn't do anything to him. I'm going to give it to Whis either way, though. It wouldn't matter. But Beerus or Deborah? Easily Beerus. Tao Pai Pai or Deborah? It's going to be Deborah. Raditz or Tao Pai Pai? Raditz. Peel Off or Tao? It's going to be Tao. Supreme Kai or Nappa? Easily the Supreme Kai. Kibito or Nappa? Easily Kibito. Even though we didn't see anything out of him, really, I would assume Kibito would have to be stronger. Kami or Nappa? It's going to be Nappa easily there. Kami or Mr. Popo? This one's a little bit up for grabs, but I'm going to give it to Popo. Korin or Kami? Now, that one's a little bit more difficult, but I'm going to give it to Kami. Videl or Ginyu? It's going to be Ginyu. I feel like this commentary is going to be very boring for a lot of you, and I apologize if it is, but, you know, this is a really cool video. I mean, I don't know, I'm giving you guys an analysis on the fights, kind of. The ones that are a little bit trickier, at least. So I hope it's somewhat enjoyable. King Kai versus Videl, it's going to be easily King Kai. Babidi or Videl, you know, I'm going to give it to Babidi. Goten or Mr. Satan? Well, it's obvious, Goten. Mr. Satan versus King Piccolo? Easily King Piccolo. Oolong versus Mr. Satan. I'm going to give it to Mr. Satan because when Oolong transforms, he doesn't get any stronger. And, I mean, he can only do it for 5 minutes, so. Dende versus Oolong. Now, that one's very difficult, but I'm going to give it to Dende. Launch versus Oolong. I'm going to give it to Launch. Android 16 versus 19. Easily 16 takes this one. 17 versus 19. It's going to be 17. Dr. Gero versus 19. I'm going to give that one to 19. I think 19's it kind of implied to be a little bit stronger, to be honest. Chaozu versus Gero. Got to give it to Gero on that one. Gohan versus Majin Buu. Give it to Gohan. Trunks versus Majin Buu. Gotta give it to Buu. Trunks versus Cell. I don't think Trunks, if we're counting Super Perfect Cell, I don't think Trunks got that strong. But it's very hard to say where his power was at after the time chamber, the hyperbolic time chamber training, but I don't think he got strong enough to beat Super Perfect Cell. Trunks versus 18. That one's up for grabs. It really is. They fought somewhat evenly in the tournament, so I assume after the training in the time chamber, Trunks would be stronger, so I'll give it to Trunks. Frieza versus 18. Easily Android 18 there. Yamcha versus Piccolo. Piccolo. Tien versus Yamcha. Easily Tien. Yamcha versus Krillin. Krillin. Goku versus Whis. Maybe Whis. Definitely. Beerus versus Goku. Well, he already beat him in the movie, so. Deborah versus Goku. It's going to be Goku. Deborah versus Vegeta. Vegeta. Elder Kai versus Deborah. I'm going to give that one to Deborah. Raditz versus the Elder Kai. That's very difficult because we have to assume the Elder Kai must be very weak, but I'm going to give it to the Elder Kai just for the benefit of the doubt. We don't know what he has, but he has to be somewhat strong. I mean, he is a Kai still. So, Raditz versus General Blue. Not even a fight. Tao Pai Pai versus General Blue. Easily. Tao. Easily. Peel Off versus Blue. It's going to be General Blue. Peel Off versus the Tenkaichi Budokai announcer. I'm going to give it to the Budokai announcer because, I mean, Peel Off's not a fighter at all. And, I mean, if it's just Peel Off and not his army, then I think the Tenkaichi Budokai announcer, even though he's just an announcer, I think he could, you know, pull the upper hand on that one, really. Supreme Kai versus Captain Ginyu. Easily Supreme Kai. For the Ginyu ones, I'm trying not to include the body switch technique, guys. I think that's fair enough. Kibito versus Ginyu. I'm going to pick Kibito. Nappa versus Ginyu. Well, it's obvious it's Ginyu. King Kai versus Nappa. I'm going to give it to Nappa. Popo versus King Kai. It's going to be King Kai. I feel like we already got that one. Popo versus Babidi. Popo. Babidi versus Kami. Now that one's interesting. But I'm going to give it to Kami on that one. Babidi versus Korin. I'm going to say Korin. Well, I have no opinion on that one, actually. Goten versus 16. That's very difficult to answer. But I'm just going to say... Ooh, that is very difficult. I'm going to say Goten, though. Goten versus... Or King Piccolo versus 16? Easily 16. Piccolo versus 17? We already know the answer. Versus 19? We know the answer to that as well. And versus Jiro? Not even a fight. And Chaozu will beat King Piccolo as well. Chi-Chi would, however, lose. Mr. Satan versus Chi-Chi, I'm going to give it to Chi-Chi. But that's very difficult to say, because in Battle of Gods, she would be a lot older, but I'm still going to give it to Chi-Chi. Piccolo versus Gohan. Gohan. We're at 101 battles, guys. Piccolo versus Boo. Easily Boo. Piccolo versus Cell. If we're counting Super Perfect Cell, I don't think Piccolo would have caught up that much. So I'm going to give that one to Cell. Piccolo versus Trunks. I'm going to... Oh, that's very, very difficult to say. If it's Battle of Gods, I would say that Piccolo would probably be a bit stronger than the two boys. I would assume at that point. But it's very hard to say, but I'm just going to say Piccolo. Tien versus Trunks. Not a fight. Trunks easy. Tien versus 18. Easily Android 18. Tien versus Frieza. I don't think Tien would have ever gotten stronger than Frieza at 100%, so... No, I don't think he could beat him. Supreme Kai versus Whis. Whis easily. Versus Beerus. Easily Beerus. Versus Goku. Still an easy pick. It's Goku. And Vegeta as well would beat him, as well as... I do believe... Supreme Kai versus Dabura. I do believe Dabura would beat him. And the reason I say this is because, you know... There's a reason he got the help of the Z Fighters, is because Dabura was there. And I mean, he didn't know Dabura was going to be there, but... Dabura was, I think, clearly stronger than the Supreme Kai, so I'm going to pick Dabura. Elder Kai, Supreme Kai. Supreme Kai, easy. Kibito versus Elder Kai. I'm going to give it to Kibito. Captain Ginyu versus Elder Kai. Wow, that is actually a tough one. And I'm going to throw no opinion right there. Nappa versus Raditz. Easily Nappa. King Kai versus Raditz. King Kai. Popo versus Raditz. I'm going to give it to Raditz. Even though he's around the same power, it's somewhat, you know, in the Daizenshuu, he's listed as like a 1000. I think Raditz would still probably mop the floor with Popo, to be honest with you. Popo or Tao? Definitely Popo. Kami or Tao? Definitely Kami. Babidi or Tao? That is very difficult to answer. I'm just going to say Babidi. You know, guys, there's probably been some there's so many fights here. There's probably been a couple that I have been a little inconsistent with in terms of who should win what. Comparing it to ones that I've already done on the list. So take that with a grain of salt, because it is, you know, a lot of fights. We're in 121 battles. I can't possibly remember every single one I've done. Videl or Tao? Easily Tao. Videl or General Blue? I'm going to give it to Blue in this one. Videl or the Budokai announcer? Videl. Guys, we're getting close to the end here. 72%. Fortune Teller, Baba, or Tenkaichi Budokai announcer? I'm going to give it to Baba. Gohan or Goten? Gohan. Boo or Goten? Boo. Cell or Goten? I'm going to give it to Cell. Piccolo or Goten? Shoot, what did I say earlier? I think Piccolo will be stronger than Goten. Trunks or Goten? I'm still going to say, even though Goten should have surpassed Trunks because of his potential, I think that Trunks is still shown to be stronger, even though I do believe Goten should be stronger at this point, due to how much potential he really has. 18 or Goten? I'm going to give it to Goten at this point. 16 or 18? 16. 17 or 18? 17. I don't think 18 got any stronger in the course of the year, so I'm still going to give it to 17. 19 or 18? Going to be 18. Frieza or 19? I'm giving it to 19 here. Dr. Gero versus Frieza. That one is very difficult, but I'm going to give it to Gero. That's very difficult. I don't actually... Oh, that's very tough, actually, guys, because, wow. I'm just going to say I like both. I do think that Gero would probably win, but I think I'm just going to go even here, guys. Tien versus Chaozu. It's going to be Tien. Krillin versus Chaozu. Has to be Krillin here. Yamcha versus Chaozu. Yamcha. Krillin's kind of like, or Chaozu's kind of like the bottom of the barrel in terms of Z fighters. Roshi versus Chaozu. I'd say Chaozu would beat the shit out of Roshi. So Roshi versus King Piccolo. King Piccolo still. Chi-Chi versus Roshi. Gotta give that one to Roshi. Bulma versus Chi-Chi. Well, Chi-Chi is kind of a fighter in a way, so I'm giving it to Chi-Chi. Mr. Satan versus Bulma. Mr. Satan. Dende versus Bulma. I'm gonna give it to Dende just because he can fly. Launch versus Bulma. Wow. I'm going to give it to Launch if she's in her evil form. And I'm not counting guns here, guys. But I think that Launch would probably be able to beat Bulma, I would imagine. But it's very hard to say. So I'm just going to give it to Launch. Oolong versus Bulma. This is very difficult because he can't be very strong in his regular form. If he doesn't get stronger, then, I mean, what's he going to get? I have no opinion on that one. Whis versus Gohan, it's easily Whis. Beerus and Gohan, easily Beerus. Goku and Gohan, if it's Battle of Gods, I'm going to say Goku at that point. He had to have surpassed him by that time, so. Vegeta and Gohan, I think in Battle of Gods, Vegeta is stronger than Gohan. It doesn't make a lot of sense if you really think about it, but Gohan is declining because he's not training, and Vegeta is ascending, really. So while Vegeta's ascending, Gohan's declining at the same time, so it would make sense for him to be stronger. Dabura or Gohan? Gohan. Boo or Dabura? Well, we already saw them fought, so we know the answer. It's Boo. Cell or Dabura? If it's Super Perfect Cell, I'm gonna say Cell. But it's a very difficult fight because Dabura wasn't... We didn't even see Dabura's full power. That's the problem. But I'm gonna give Cell the benefit of that doubt here. Piccolo or Dabura? That is a very, very good fight. But I'm gonna say Dabura. Piccolo or Supreme Kai. If it's Battle of Gods, I think Piccolo would have gotten ahead of Supreme Kai by that point. Trunks or the Supreme Kai. Wow, that one is tough. I'm going to give it to Trunks. Just because I said Piccolo should be a little bit stronger than them. And, you know, Goten as well will beat Supreme Kai. So, Android 16, Supreme Kai, Supreme Kai. Kibito or 16. That is very, very difficult. But I have to think that Kibito has to be very powerful in his own respect. So I would imagine that he would beat 16. Because remember, 16 was a little bit stronger than Imperfect Cell, and Imperfect Cell is like very weak compared to most villains now. And I think, by the Buu Saga at least, I think that Kibito would have to be stronger. That's just my opinion. Captain Ginyu were 16, 16 easily. 17 or Captain Ginyu? Easily 17. 18 or Ginyu? Easy, easy fight. 18. 19 or Ginyu? Still 19. Frieza or Ginyu? Obvious answers here, guys. Tien, Shinhan, or Captain Ginyu. If it's from Battle of Gods, I'd say Tien would mop the floor with Ginyu. Krillin or Ginyu. Easily going to be Krillin. Yamcha would probably be able to beat Ginyu, I would say. Even though he hasn't been training since the end of the Cell Saga, I think that he'd still be able to beat Ginyu. Chaozu or Ginyu. I'm going to give it to Ginyu, to be honest with you guys. I know it might sound crazy, but I'm giving that one to Ginyu. Nappa or Chaozu? Chaozu. King Piccolo or Nappa? It's going to be Nappa. King Kai or Piccolo? King Piccolo, at least. King Kai. Rats or King Piccolo? It's going to be Rats. We're getting real close here, guys, to the end. King Piccolo or Popo? It's going to be Mr. Popo. Kami or King Piccolo? That is very tough, but I do think that Kami would be I like both. Maybe there was something in Dragon Ball that would state otherwise, but I'm a little bit fuzzy on a lot of my Dragon Ball stuff. It doesn't get retained as well as my Z knowledge, but if I remember, it's kind of a hard one to say. Roshi or Babidi? That is very difficult, but well, it's not actually. I'd say Roshi. Chi-Chi or Babidi? Babidi. Tao or Chi-Chi? It's going to be General Tao, or Mercenary Tao, actually. Don't want people to get me in the comments for saying General Tao. Funimation dub, corrupt me, guys. Come on. General Blue or Chi-Chi? General Blue. Videl or Chi-Chi? I think Chi-Chi in her prime would be able to beat Videl, but I think Videl, if they were both in Battle of Gods, I'd say Videl at that point. Fortune Teller Baba or Chi-Chi? I have no opinion. Mr. Satan or Tenkaichi Budokai Announcer? Mr. Satan. Dende or the Tenkaichi Budokai Announcer? Dende. Launch or the Announcer? Launch. Bulma or the Announcer? I like both. Look at that. Guys, we finished. So let's see how this data adds up, alright guys? So, at number 1, we have Whis. Number 2, Beerus. 3 is Goku. 4 is Vegeta. Then Gohan. Number 6 is Majin Buu. Cell is number 7. It's looking pretty good so far, guys. At number 8, we have Deborah. And at number 9, we have Piccolo. And at 10, we have Trunks. 11 is Goten. 12 is Supreme Kai. Right under him is the Kibito Kai. 16, Android 16 is at number 14. Android 17 is at 15. Android 18 is at 16. All these numbers are getting confusing, guys. Android 19 is at 17. Frieza is at 18. Jiro is also at 18. So they're even, guys, just like I thought. And this list is also based on my, it's based on what I said, guys. It's not like a preset list. Your list will look different. And I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can try this yourself. Tien is at 20. I have Tien Strongheart as Krillin. Krillin's right under him. Then Yamcha. Then under him is Captain Ginyu. Then the Elder Kai. Then Chaozu. So the Elder Kai is stronger than Chaozu. And under Chaozu is Nappa. Then King Kai. Then Raditz. Then Popo. Then Piccolo. King Piccolo. Then Kami right under him. And after him it's Roshi. Then Babidi. Then Korin. Then General Tao. Or Mercenary Tao. My mistake. Tao Pai Pai. Then General Blue after him. And after Blue would be Videl. Then Yajirobe. Chi-Chi. Baba. Mr. Satan. Dende. Launch. Bulma. Oolong. Budokai Announcer. And Pilaf is at the bottom of the barrel. To be honest, guys, the only thing I'd probably switch here is I'd put Mr. Satan above Baba. And that's probably about all I'd switch. I think this list looks very, very good at where it is. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this list. And check out the link in the description. I think the link will work. I'll link in the description so you guys can check this out. And do it for yourselves. But yeah, guys, that's been my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the commentary wasn't too boring or monotonous, because I feel like it probably was. But I didn't know any way to make it super interesting for you guys. But I'll try to put some good music in the background. Hopefully that helps. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to check out Kwaman's Land as well as Black and Fist. But I know Kwaman's probably going to do a video on this, so go check out his video. Let's see how well he does. Let's see if he can do better than I did. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.